is Juline Wieland, but you can call me Miss Wheezy. I want to welcome you to the 2021 LCCA Arts and Sciences Camp. We're going to have a lot of fun this week, or I hope so, and I hope you guys are ready to use your brains. I know you're out of school, but we're going to dive in. The theme for our first day is Blast Off, a Day in Outer Space. Before we get started and dig in our bag of goodies, we're going to talk a little bit about outer space, NASA, and the recent missions, and the engineering design process. Now, who here has heard of the engineering design process? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I can't see you, but I hope each one of you out there has raised your hand and said that you have, because that means you know about the design process and you've been using it in school in your science classes. But just in case you may not remember, I'm going to go over the steps. So, step number 1 in the engineering design process is identifying the problem. Now, how in the world can you figure out what the problem is? What do you think you use to determine if you have a problem? Well, think about it a minute. I got to get something out of the cabinet. What do I need to do to get up there? I bet you guys do this at home all the time. So I hope that your answers when you were raising your hand and thinking about it was that you all use your 5 senses. If you said that, you're 100% correct. We'll use our 5 senses in some way to identify our problem before we get down to working on it. Now think for a minute. When you're trying to figure something out, what's one of the first things you do after you identify the problem? Do you immediately jump in and start on the solution? Do you think about it first? This is actually what leads us to the second step in the process, and that's brainstorming. Right. So who knows how to brainstorm? Okay. Raising hands, right? Right? Okay, well, when we do it with my students at school, everybody starts coming up with possible solutions, even those crazy ones that don't make any sense, because guess what? That might be the one that's going to work. We don't know. We're brainstorming. We're coming up with all kinds of ideas, right? I bet you've done that in your class before. Hope so. So, the next step is the actual design step. This is cool. This is when you go in and you're actually creating your design, you're drawing, you're talking to your friends, and if you're at home, you may not be able to do that, but hey, talk to the adult in the room. Ask them what they think. Grab your little brother or older sister, whatever. Talk to your dog. Ask them what they think. And get down and start designing and thinking, well, will this work? Will this work? We don't know. So now that gets us to the 4th step, because now we're going to take that design that you thought about, and we're going to build it, we're going to test it, and we're going to evaluate. And then we got to redesign if necessary. So, why do you think you would need to redesign? Think about that. The final step is to share your solution. And my question to you is, why do you think scientists and engineers need to share their solutions? Oh, we're going to keep it a secret, right? We're going to keep it a secret. We're not sharing with anybody. So we're going to keep it. No, we don't do that. We share with people. All right, so to recap, we identify the problem. We brainstorm ideas. We design your idea. Then we build, test, evaluate, and redesign if necessary. And finally, share your solution. So this is the entire engineering design process that we're going to be using. Now, excuse me, when we use this engineering design process, we don't just use it with these activities that we're going to be doing. All scientists, all engineers, all people use this process. They just don't call it that. So now here is your engineering challenge. You have been hired by NASA, and you have been told that you must build a space lander that can safely land astronauts on the moon. A long time ago, in the late 60s and early 70s, when I was a kid, way long time ago, NASA took the first humans to the moon in the Apollo space program. But since 1972, no man or woman has stepped foot on the moon. It's crazy, it's been so long. Now, though, we've landed on Mars with our Mars rover. But that's exciting, right? We're going to Mars. Everybody wants to be a Martian, right? When you go and you live on Mars, you're a Martian. So now they're like, well, we've gone to Mars, we've been focusing on that. Now let's turn our focus back. And so their newest project in NASA is called Artemis. Okay, a little Greek history here, Greek mythology. Artemis is the sister of Apollo in Greek mythology. So that's why we named it that, or they named it that. I didn't name it that. So it's been so long since humans have landed on the moon, NASA's got to come up with some fresh new ideas, right? And that's where you're coming in because you've been hired. But you've got to follow some rules, and here are the rules that you must follow according to NASA regulations. You must design and build a lander that will protect those astronauts trying to reach the moon. You don't want them to get there and die, right? Crash and burn on the moon? No, we don't do that. So only the supplies available in the NASA lab can be used, and our NASA lab is our goodie bag. So I want you to pause your video and dig out the following materials of your goodie bag. Dig them out. So you're going to need, not to make a mess, a 9-ounce plastic cup, okay? 2 ping pong balls. If I had 3, I could probably juggle. Well, probably not. You're going to grab 10 cotton balls and an 8-inch plate, some pipe cleaners, not for cleaning your pipes, we're not smoking, craft sticks, we got some 4-inch index cards, a pair of scissors, and if I can reach it, this masking tape, okay? After you've gathered that, restart your video. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I hope you have all your materials ready to create your design. So here are the rules. Number 1, attach the cup, which we'll refer to as the module, right, to the landing platform. Whatever you choose to be your landing platform from these materials, okay? Only from these. You can't make your own. Got to use these. Number 2, the building must take place beneath the landing platform. So if you use scissors as the landing platform, you can only attach things under here, okay? You can only build from there, all right? You get what I'm saying? I hope so, all right? So you can't cover your module, you can't cover the cup, you can't cover the platform, okay? You can't change, number 4, you can't change the platform or the cup or your astronauts. You can't alter them in any way, all right? And number 5, the astronauts must stay inside the cup when they land, okay? They can't go bouncing around when they get there, okay? And use only, like I said, use only these supplies provided. So pause your video, put on your thinking caps, and brainstorm some ideas using only the supplies that you have in front of you. Remember that the 9-ounce plastic cup is your module and the 2 ping pong balls are your astronauts. And they must stay in here when they land. So pause your video, and when you come back, you will have your Lunar Lander ready for action. See you in a minute. Welcome back. I hope you all have your Lunar Lander ready to be tested because this is a very important step. We got to test for safety, right? I wouldn't want to ride anything that hadn't been tested, like at Carowinds or something. I'm sure our astronauts don't want to ride anything until we test it. So grab your family member or friend that is watching this video with you, your Lunar Lander, and go outside and test it. And if it's raining, you can stay inside. But remember, we're dropping the Lunar Lander from a height of 3 feet. That's about, 3 feet. About here, maybe here, no. So pause your video and go test your Lunar Lander. If your astronauts bounce out, then that's when you need to reevaluate your design and fix it. And so take a few minutes and do that, and then you have to retest it, right? So when you come back, I can show you what I came up with. See you in a minute. This is what I came up with here. You should see it popping up on the screen in a second. Did your lunar landers work? I really hope so. And I really hope that your family member that is with you will take a picture of your design and share it with us so we can see your creations. Now, I want you to think about some of the things that you may have had to do to redesign your lunar lander. Mine did not stay in there the first time. My astronauts crashed. So, what if this really was on the moon? What are some things that we might need to take into consideration? One thing, think about jumping up and down and landing on a mattress versus a concrete floor. Okay? You ever jump on the bed when you're a kid? Oh, wait, you're still kids, right? I jump on my bed too, so yeah. You want to jump on the bed or you want to jump on a concrete floor? Which one you want to land on? Well, I know what the answer would be for me. I definitely want to land on that mattress because I am old and I get hurt. That's going to, that mattress is going to be a good shock absorber. That means I'm not going to damage my knees. And what that means for our lunar lander is that it wouldn't be damaged if it had a shock absorber. So I hope you thought about that and included that in your design. Another thing you might need to consider is gravity. Do you guys know what gravity is? I bet you do. If you've ever been playing outside and fell down and skinned your knee, then you know what gravity is. That's when you go flipping on the ground and tear yourself up because gravity's pulling you right down on the ground, right? The force of the earth, our big earth, is what's pulling on us to keep us grounded. Otherwise, we're going to be floating out in outer space. Now, the interesting thing about gravity on the moon is that it's only 1/6 of the gravity of Earth. 1/6, because the moon's kind of tiny, right? Well, in comparison to the Earth. So that means if you weighed 120 pounds, I'm going to divide that by 6, do a little math, then on the moon, you're only going to weigh 20 pounds. That's how your body's going to feel, like it weighs 20 pounds, right? So when you're creating this or designing your lunar lander, that's something we need to consider because we don't want it too light, but we don't want it real heavy either. So think about some of the pictures of the astronauts you've seen because that's really a great career. I would love to be an astronaut, but I get motion sickness, so that's really not a career for me. But for these people who do it, you might see them out there repairing some systems or taking photos of the Earth or going on spacewalks like outside of their modules. That is so cool. I mean, that would be really fun just to, just be out there floating around. Now, it wouldn't be fun if you kind of got loose. That could be bad, but it would be pretty fun. So gravity is all, is all important, is the main thing that's important to those ideas there, okay? So when you're out taking that spacewalk, and if you had a lot of gravity pulling on you, you wouldn't be able to float like you do. And one of the cool things is, I just thought about this actually, was the flag when they planted the United States of America's flag out there, it stayed floating, like nothing's pulling it down. So it was just standing out there. So there's not a lot of gravity acting on. All right, so finally, another thing we might want to consider is the force called drag. Sometimes some people might call it lift. There's kind of an argument there, but drag is what we call an upward force. The atmosphere, in physics, I call this lift. But the upward force of the atmosphere pushing on whatever object is falling, I call that lift. But if it's behind a car, you might call it drag. So either way, that's another force, okay? So if you think about like a flat piece of paper, like a piece of notebook paper, and then you ball up a piece of notebook paper, think about which one is going to have more drag. Which one is going to, fall slower to the ground. that may affect your design as well. So you saw earlier my basic Lunar Lander, and I told you that I've got to go test it one more time because it did not keep my astronauts safe. So, but I'll let you know how that turns out. I hope you guys had a great time today. I look forward to seeing those pictures, and the people at LCCA do too. We want to see all of your pictures, all of your tests, your building, anything cool like that. If you're interested in seeing something very cool on YouTube, please check out this video called 7 Minutes of Terror, the challenges of getting to Mars. It talks about the Mars rover and how scary it was for everybody in NASA, right? So it gives you an idea about how engineers are playing an important role in space exploration. One parting thought here I want you guys to think about is, what was the most difficult step in the engineering process for you today? And why do you think that step was most difficult? So think about that and then kind of reflect on that, because reflection is a big deal part of the engineering design process. Even though it doesn't get us on step, if you reflect on your thoughts, you're going to remember it and learn it and keep it, and it'll be yours. If your adults took any pictures, please send them to this email address, arts.takepart@gmail.com. We would love to see you in action and see your designs. I look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. Bye for now from Wheezy.